Hey everyone, this is Friedel Huck or AJ Raven, and I'm so glad that I am back doing my review and recaps of Animal Kingdom. We have Animal Kingdom season number 4, episode number 1, which is titled Janine. So, for those of you who have been paying attention, Janine is Smurf's real name. And yeah, I'm just glad. I'm just glad that this show is back. It's one of my favorite shows on television right now. This and Claws both air on TNT, and they are amazing. Anyway, coming back to the episode. It opens with these masked figures robbing a bank. And of course, the way that they are and the way that they walk, you can tell that this one is a woman. And of course, she's Janine because the episode name is Janine. So they try to rob a bank and they are even successful. However, there's one person who has a gun on him and he tries to shoot them, but this person ends up killing that person and the blood spatters on Janine's mask. And yeah, she's sad about it. And it's bad because these are robbers. They don't want to be convicted for murder and stuff. So this is the actress who is playing a very young version of Janine. And we just saw Janine rob a bank, so that was a good thing because you can tell that Janine has a lot of experience. She made an entire empire for herself ever since her kids were little, and when they grew up, she ended up teaching them. She taught them the ropes, and she ended up teaching Jay. So she has a lot of experience, and she wants to teach people. However, she still wants to remain in power. Now, in the present day, we have Janine looking at Pope, who is having this cage mask because he has all of this anger, especially after what happened to him in the previous episode, in the previous season, with Lena going away. Now, I had to tell myself that even though we had to wait an entire year for season 4 to debut, in the show's timeline, I guess only 2 years have passed since season 1 to season 4. So season 4 probably picks up a month or a few weeks after the events in season 3, if I'm not wrong. Anyway, Pope is having this cage match, and Smurf is also betting on him. She's placing bets on whether or not he wins. Craig is there as well. Now, then the scene changes to Craig and Deran looking at Adrian surfing, and they compliment his surfing capabilities. However, Craig is surprised that even though Adrian is able to surf quite well here, he keeps on losing competitions. So that's something that Craig can't really make sense of. Over at school, Joshua takes a class, I guess it's statistics or economics, I'm not sure. And we see these new characters being introduced who are Joshua's classmates. And this is a girl who wants help from Joshua when it comes to tutoring and stuff. And she also wants him to have fun. So she invites him to a party. And Joshua ends up figuring out that this girl tells him that this kid who is behind them is the son of a billionaire. So, of course, you know that Jay is going to figure out something to steal money from this kid's father. Now, I was a fan of Jay back in season 1 and season 2, but when he ended up killing that lawyer in cold blood, I am not a fan of Jay anymore. He's a murderer, and his new girlfriend, Mia, is a murderer too, and it's a mess. So Craig is still trying to make sense of why Adrian isn't able to do well in competitions. And he has this that's a Volkswagen, right? Anyway, he has this conversation with Adrian about he needs to do well. And Adrian is like, it's different when you're just surfing and when you're surfing when cameras on you. However, we know that after what Adrian went through in season 3, the feds are onto him, and he is. The only good thing is that I'm glad that Adrian isn't going to spy on Deran. He has this entire drug thing going on. The feds want him to figure out where the drug supply is coming from. So I'm actually glad that Adrian isn't forced to spy on the Codys. So they go into the house that Deran bought. So of course, Deran and Adrian are living together. And again, Craig keeps on nagging him about why isn't he winning. And Adrian is like, what will happen to me? It's not a profession. I'll do it for 10 more years and then I'll retire. So what's even the point of going to surfing and yada, yada, yada. And Craig kind of figures out that maybe Adrian isn't going because he doesn't want to leave Deran behind. I have no idea what happened to my voice right now. Talking about Mia. Mia is keeping an eye on this girl, this waitress in a cafe, and probably because Jay has a job or whatnot. So over to Adrian. I'm very glad that Adrian is getting a lot of screen time, especially in the premiere, because we didn't get a lot of Adrian in the previous 3 episodes. I guess he is like what in 6 or 7 episodes in a 13 episode season. So I would like to see Adrian in more episodes. Anyway, the feds tell Adrian that they can kind of tell what he's doing. It's as if Adrian is deliberately throwing away his games because he doesn't want to be contacted by the drug dealer again. And if he loses and if he doesn't pass the competitions, he won't be asked to go on a world tour and compete, and that way he won't be able to deliver drugs. However, the feds want him to deliver drugs, and the feds end up deciding to sponsor Adrian to go because, again, they want to figure out where the supply is coming from. So over at the Cody residence, Smurf is being her creepy self, and she goes and meets up with Pope, and she tells Pope that she plans to change Angelina's room, and Pope is like, just leave it like this. It reminds me about why I'm here. So again, in the past, we see that the boys that Janine is with, they aren't happy about shooting a person and yada, yada, yada. So they have this argument. And turns out that Mia was looking at that waitress for Jay because they have a job. And when she comes to Jay's office, she notices that Jay is reading up on this person who is a billionaire. Of course, he's the father of the student that Jay has class with. And yeah, Jay is already planning to get money from him. And there's this weird scene where Mia is a murderer. Again, I don't feel anything for her. I don't feel anything for Jay as well. These two are dangerous people. Mia more so than Jay because she has more experience killing people in cold blood with a gun. So Mia wants to be closer to Jay. And Jay ends up telling Mia that she can't control him. It's his house. He can go and come as he pleases. And Mia works for Jay. So Cody and Deran and Craig are trying to look at a truck that they need to steal for the job. And while they wait, Craig again brings up Adrian, and the reason that why he might not be leaving Deran is because he doesn't trust Deran. And Deran is like, Adrian lives with me, he trusts me. There's just something else going on. Maybe he just doesn't want to compete anymore. And while they're at it, Craig then brings up Pope, and he says that Pope isn't in a mentally well state, and so he shouldn't be on the job. And Deran is like, if you want to take Pope out of the job, you should tell Pope. I'm not telling him. So over at the Cody residence, we have Smurf sunbathing or whatnot. She's just chilling, and Jay comes in, and they have a conversation about the job. And then that conversation changes to the lawyer that Jay ended up killing. And it's amazing seeing Jay and Smurf share a scene together and all of their interactions. It's awesome. They're both playing each other. Smurf realizes how quickly Jay has grown and how dangerous he can be. And Jay is just trying to save himself. So everyone is having dinner, and I'm glad to see that Adrian is there as well. And they talk about all of the properties they have and how they're trying to handle the people who live there and yada, yada, yada. And when Pope walks away, this is when Deran brings up not wanting Pope to be on the job. But before they talk about the job, Smurf kindly asks Deran to go and get the desert plates because it makes sense. He doesn't want to talk about the job in front of Adrian. And they have a talk about Pope, and Smurf is like, nope, Pope is going with you all. And later that night, we see Pope working on this weird machine with steel rods or steel beams. And Smurf goes in and tells Pope that he needs to have his head in the game. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess. So Frankie is back. She goes and meets up with Craig, and Frankie has a plan. And Craig tells Frankie that Craig doesn't tell her. Frankie kind of figures out that they are robbing a bank, and Frankie's like, that's high risk. Smurf is going to get you killed. You need to work with me on a job. And Craig is like, yeah, I'll think about it. So over at Adrian and Deran, Adrian knows what Deran does, and they're figuring out their alibi. So apparently, Adrian needs to go. He needs to buy 2 tickets to the latest Avengers movie, which he isn't a fan of. But anyway, and Deran also wants Adrian to go. He tells Adrian that he shouldn't quit surfing just because of him, because Deran is always there to support Adrian. It's just so romantic and so lovable. But it feels weird because you know that Adrian is in trouble and he is keeping secrets, and that guilt is also weighing on Adrian. And oh, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess, this show. So on the day of the job, Smurf again tells Pope if he is ready, and Deran asks if he's ready, and Smurf is like, "Yep, Pope is ready. You all need to go." And then we have a flashback, and we see a scene where the guys are talking about how they don't want Janine in the group anymore, except for her boyfriend who is defending her. Because according to the other people, Janine, because she's a woman, she makes the group stand out. And Janine hears all of this. And of course, being Janine, she is thinking of a contingency plan. So over at the job, Jake goes and distracts the waitress, and he is able to steal her phone. And through the phone, he ends up threatening her father, who owns this bank or whatnot. He's a manager at the bank, and yada yada yada. And there's this entire scene where they end up robbing the bank, and we find out that the thing that Pope was working on over here, it's actually for opening up the safe locks. However, while they are stealing all of the money, the alarm rings, and they go to the manager and ask him if he's the one who ended up ringing the alarm. But turns out it wasn't him. It was this woman he was seeing in the bank, and she trips the alarm and she runs away. Deran notices, and Deran is like, "Yep, get out of here right now. I am bleaching the car." So what follows is this awesome sequence where Pope, Craig, and Deran are on bikes being pursued by the police. It goes on for a while, but it's quite intense, so I enjoyed it. And while they're on their way to go to Jay, who will be able to, he is like the person who needs to drive them away from the scene. Craig and Deran notices that Pope is nowhere to be seen. So Craig tells Deran to go to Jay while he goes to get Pope back. And it turns out that he gets off his bike, he takes out his gun, and he's waiting for the police. And you can tell that Pope just wants to die, and he doesn't care if it's the police that's going to kill him and whatnot. And Craig comes in time, and he is able to persuade or actually force Pope to leave. And Deran also, Deran isn't happy with Pope's actions. And also talking about Deran, what is up with his hair in this portion? I don't like it. It feels very, I don't like it. But anyway, we go to the past again, and we see Janine practicing her voice in the mirror. And she just understands that in order to stick with the guys, she needs to make some changes. So she ends up cutting off her hair. And this is now how she looks like. And the men kind of appreciate her cutting her hair and yada, yada, yada. And in the present day, we see Smurf smiling because her sons and grandchild ended up successfully doing the job, and she's happy about it. And the episode ends with Janine smiling as she rides away with the boys, and you know that she's thinking about something. And I'm just excited. I'll be doing a written review of the episode for the Geekiary. The link to that will be down in the comment section below as soon as the review goes up. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comment section below. Are you fans of Animal Kingdom? I am a huge fan of Animal Kingdom, y'all. And yeah, make sure to check out my written review of this episode as well. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. I'll see you guys later. Bye.